What is up? It is day 88 at the cut. It is currently 6:20 in the morning, and starting off the day with a run. So we're running at 6:45, meeting up with a buddy to run. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get some water. We're gonna get some coffee. I haven't quite decided if we're gonna do coffee yet. 100% we're gonna get some water, and yeah. Also, this morning been editing the previous video, trying to get as much done as I can. We're gonna do another water boy. Trying to hold on to those electrolytes. The goal today is probably to drink a little bit more water because I don't think I'm gonna drink enough of it. All right, so last night we got about 6 hours and 50 minutes of sleep. So we're moving up in the world. Again, the goal is to get around 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. Most people let sleep fall out of their training, me. But rest is extremely important. So trying to get better sleep so that way I can perform better when I'm working out, and also just make it feel better, because nothing is as worse as when you don't get good sleep and you feel like trash. So, man. All right, so we have about 20 minutes until we meet up for our run. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna finish our drink. We're gonna go stretch, put on our shoes, and then do this run. So, while we stretch, drink, I'm gonna finish editing this video and we're gonna try to upload it today. It is, man, there's a lot to do when you're editing, but slowly getting there, slowly getting better. I was gonna add music, but I'm technologically illiterate apparently, so I can't figure that out. So let's just go ahead and be done. Ooh, that was close. So where I live, we have these things called goat heads. I don't know if I can show this well. They're called goat heads because they have these massive thorns that have these barbs that stick out and stab you. These are never fun to find in your foot. All right, run is complete for the day. So, let's do it. Come on, total time 16 minutes, 2 nautical miles, or 2 miles. Average pace 8:26. There's heart rates. All right, work is done. So
here is the macros for today. This is what we have so far. So there is breakfast. Here's what we had for lunch. Lunch today was a chicken tacos. For dinner, we're having pizza. So I just left a little bit more calories at the back half there. Proteins are not going to be as much as I want for the day, but our carbs are going to be a little bit higher since we did have the run today, and we're probably going to run again tomorrow. My carbs have been low throughout this week, and just kind of feeling that draw from not having enough carbs, energy-wise. But proteins, we're still not quite at the goal for the daily protein, so I might try to play around with the numbers and see if we can fit in any more protein shakes or anything else that kind of bump up those numbers. But today we have legs, so I wouldn't even mind having carbs anyways for that, just to make it a little bit easier. I think today's gonna be a little bit more squat focused, or I gotta double check on it. It might be more with lunges. So today we'll probably go a little bit heavier if it's gonna be the squats. If it's gonna be lunges, then we're gonna focus more on the hypertrophy and try to get a little bit more of those reps in. Something I think is worth mentioning, especially when you're doing these cuts, if you're thinking about doing it yourself, really kind of coming up with a good game plan is what's going to make you successful. I talked about it in the last video. Yeah, the last video I talked about it, talking about how I kind of set my game plan of how I was trying to get myself set up for this diet. And when you're getting into a cut, it's extremely important to have that game plan of how you plan on doing it, along with setting up yourself for success. Biggest things is not jumping right into something crazy, especially if it's your first time dieting. If you've done diets in the past and you can stick to it, do it. But if you're kind of at the point like where I was, where you couldn't hold to diets, you couldn't quite stick to a plan, and you always gave up at a certain point because you didn't feel like you were seeing anything, I think those lifestyle changes, it's really going to help benefit you. So like for me, same thing, is I just dropped those calories slowly. So when I started the diet, I didn't jump straight to 1,800 calories during the week. I actually started with 2,500 calories. And I started that off just to get in the use of tracking your numbers. So getting used to how you plan on tracking all the calories, the macros. And even then, I'd even recommend don't even focus on macros to start off with. Just make it simple and focus on the calorie portion. That's going to teach you mainly like just portioning wise. How are you going to set up and how are you going to portion all your food out? Because I can tell you, I have a pretty good idea now for most of the foods that I eat consistently. I can kind of eyeball it and it's very close. When I get to the bigger meals, I'm going to portion it out and weigh it just to make sure I'm exact on those numbers. But like one of the things that I have consistently that I haven't had this week, but is one of the kind of my staples into my snacks, because I'm a big snacking person, is actually going to be popcorn. Popcorn is truly very low calorie, and it's just voluminous, however you fucking say it. But it fills your stomach up, and it's like that crunch, because I'm a big snacker, like chips are my favorite, and popcorn, you can have a lot of it. So a big thing that is, I eat Skinny Pop. Skinny Pop is really not a lot of calories. Basically, I have a bowl, it's like a cereal bowl that I eat out of, and I know filling that to the rim with popcorn is the exact amount that I need to get the weight-wise of the popcorn. So I kind of can eyeball that generally when I'm getting close to the end of the day and I don't feel like exactly weighing it out. I know more and roughly get there. But starting off with just focusing on calories is truly the easiest way to get into dieting. Understanding how much things are, and then starting to learn the differences between fats, proteins, and carbs, and how those kind of fill into your diets. Once you kind of get set into tracking and weighing and getting your food out and portioning and realizing what that looks like, that's when I'd start focusing on, hey, let's start focusing more on the macros. And even then, it comes down to your training. Number one is, if you're in a calorie deficit, the thing that you want to primarily focus on is going to be your proteins. Because one, proteins take the most for your digestion. Two, proteins will keep you full. And three, you'll lose less muscle when you have more protein intakes. Carbs are great if you're having a lot more of those cardios, like I'm adding with a lot of my runs.
All right, so my phone overheated on the way to talk. So basically where I left off, I said is,
basically you got to watch out on those fats, because the fats is going to be your highest amount of calories per on the macro portion. So when you get really diving deep onto those macros and you start learning the difference between the carbs, proteins, and fats, it kind of opens up your eyes a bit. So when you go through that, you need a way to track it. What I use is I use MyFitnessPal. I use the Pro version that allows me to scan barcodes and makes it a little bit easier for tracking food. There's plenty of different type of tracking programs out there. Find what works best for you. For me, I'm thinking about swapping off of MyFitnessPal and trying something different out. I've been using MyFitnessPal for years, and again, that's the whole talk of I've been off and on dieting. MyFitnessPal does a good job. There's some things I don't like about it. There's some things I do like about it. So I'm gonna play around with some other ones and figure out what works best for me. So find what works best for you and start tracking your food. If you're not tracking your calorie intake, you're not gonna do well on your diet. If you're just going to do extreme cuts without setting a base of that foundation of health, it's gonna be difficult at the end of the day. That's how I've made it to day 88 today. Haven't broken truly that much. I've had a few cheat days here and there, and that's perfectly fine. That's for the sanity portion. But the biggest thing is trying not to do that every single weekend or multiple days, because that's what's going to destroy your diet. And that's how we stay consistent. All right, so change out of my work clothes back into my workout clothes. Probably not going to work out till a little bit later, and that's perfectly fine. It gives me time to do some editing, gives me time to do some cleaning up that I need to do, spend some time with wife and kids. I already kind of quickly talked about what we're having for dinner, and I'll go ahead and basically show here's what we're having. So this is what it looked like. Cool. And now here are the actual macros based off of what we have for the pizza. So this is the carbs, fats, and proteins that you see. So there are ways to have a normal diet and eat normal foods. It is perfectly fine. You just got to figure out some ways to change it up. So my biggest thing is when I hopped onto this diet is that I didn't want to eat something completely different than my family. So my wife makes something, and I want to eat something along the line, so that way I'm keeping constant with my kids, so that we're all eating it together. But I'm not asking my family to do a diet with me. So I have to flex on how I do that, and that really comes down to that weighing out your foods and tracking and figure out how you're going to do something that's equivalent to what everyone else is eating, but also different. So for me, I cut out the cheeses, do fat-free cheeses. We make our own dough for the pizza dough, so that's how I'm able to track it. We weigh it out to the exact amounts, and we each have our own individual pizzas, and so there's different ways we can do that to make it a little bit easier. Same thing with burgers. I'm a huge burger fan. You could easily have a double burger and make it low calorie. I do it all the time. Probably soon on one of these videos, I'll go ahead and show you all how I do that, because, man, eating a burger when you're on a diet and you feel like you're cheating, and you're really not, because it's all lean proteins, fat-free cheeses, and you're using those the keto buns, makes life easy. But you can easily eat very good foods on a diet. People think you can't, you have to eat chicken and rice. That's not true. I'm very basic on my food, so it's pretty easy for me. My main focus, though, is when I do my diets, is I try to leave a huge portion of my calories for the end of the day when I'm having dinner with my family, and I try to be flexible on that, just in case, you know, if my wife decides that we're not having pizza tonight, instead we're gonna do something different. I try to leave myself around 1,000 calories, just so that way I have enough to play around with. So on an 1,800 calorie deficit, that means I have roughly about 800 calories for breakfast and lunch. And so simply just doing simple breakfasts like yogurt and eggs like I have been doing makes that easy for me. And then for lunches is where I try to filter that in. So biggest thing is I try to keep it consistent, try to keep it simple, and then that way I will also want to eat what my family's eating. And that's why it's important to track. So if you want to eat good foods, you have to track it. Get tracking, count your calories, make your life easy. Make the cut easy. Make dieting easy. And you'll get there too.
I get no up from the top. I get no up, but I'm never gonna stop. No resistance, only resistance. I get no up, but I'm never gonna stop. The first mistake was to underestimate the way I break through the gate. I'll never take the bait. They think I'm still coming up, but I'm blowing up. The future fucking stable, stuck on a record label. The final nail in the coffin, the Grim Reaper knocking. We almost called it quits, but we had so much left to give. It feels like every artist had to build some sort of identity crisis. But we've been the same since we wrote a song about how the sun rises. I get no help from the top, I get no help, but I'm never gonna stop. No assistance, only resistance. I get no help, but I'm never gonna stop. I get no help from the top, I get no help, but I'm never gonna stop. No assistance, only resistance. I get no help, but I'm never gonna stop.
All right, that's it for this video. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and like the video. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Join me on this journey as we are continuing down on this cut. It's the end of day 88. Tomorrow's day 89. It's going to be another arm workout. So I'll see you tomorrow morning. See you.